We're here with Ruby Garza. She's like the pop queen of San Antonio. Actually, she's the creative director here at Tex Pop, the South Texas Museum of Popular Culture. So Ruby, I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for letting Straight Jacket Guerrilla Film Festival happen here at this museum. We really appreciate it, and we think that your support is so super cool. So I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the if you could tell me a little bit about the museum.
Sure. Tex Pop's been around for about 7 years now. It stands for the South Texas Museum of Popular Culture, and we collect and archive San Antonio music history, pop culture history from the 50s, 60s, well, the 20s, 30s, from beginning of time of San Antonio to present day. So we're constantly switching up gallery exhibits. Right now we are supporting local artists. We have a good art show going on. Next month we'll switch to historical. So we just kind of switch everything up over here.
Great. So what do you think about the kind of films that the film festival is showcasing?
I love it. I've always been for underground counterculture society, so I prefer the more rebellious and the more
punk.
Yeah, more anti-art kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I respect I just love the underground shit. So I prefer it really. So it's good to see it, and I'm always happy to host these events, and it's good. It's good.
Awesome. Thank you, Ruby.
You got it. Have a good one.
You too. Hey, what's up? We're here with Aaron Hickman. Daya is playing chip tunes tonight, which is pretty rare in San Antonio. We only have a few people doing chip tunes.
I think literally one other person who's acting in the scene. We are a two-person scene.
So we're lucky to have him here performing tonight. So tell me a little bit about chip tunes. What is it, and what are you doing tonight?
Sure. Chip tunes is just pretty much making music of any kind using old, outdated video game hardware. So that could be computers, that could be video game consoles like the NES, the Sega Genesis, Game Boy, things like that, and using those chips and kind of repurposing them in a DIY fashion, and then making new music using that old tech. And it kind of reminds me of like the punk scene, because you're kind of using discarded stuff that no one cares about anymore, and making something new and fresh and cool with it.
Cool. So what did you think about the film that we're showing tonight, Teddy Bears Live Forever?
Oh, I thought it was a wild ride. I went in not knowing what to expect, and it definitely had a narrative, and I felt like I could view things through the lens of this character. It was really close to her perspective and focus on her a lot, and it kind of gave me a deeper appreciation for people with mental health issues, because there's a history of that. Like in my family, my mom had those sorts of issues a little bit, so I could totally relate to that, and just how much of a struggle it can be to communicate to the outside world, and just to relate to yourself and relate to other people when there's things going on inside your head that you can't explain.
Cool. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Thomas, what's up?
I don't even know how to answer that.
I just wanted to ask you, so what do you think about underground cinema, cult cinema?
Well, that's a broad term for a broad range of films.
Well, just in general, what do you think about the types of films that are more like punk films? Maybe what do you think about the film you saw tonight, Teddy Bears Live Forever? It's an underground punk film.
I wasn't sure if it was a documentary or if it was a dramatization, because it dealt with a woman with mental illness. They would actually show her hallucinations, but there were like lots of scenes where not much is happening, and so I was like, is this a documentary? I couldn't really tell. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the filmmaker was trying to blur the lines between drama and documentary.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Thomas. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
About underground cinema?
Sure.
Well, like I said, it's a broad range. Because I guess David Lynch's first theatrical film, Eraserhead, probably goes into the category of underground cinema. I always liked that. I know the No Wave movement in New York City in the late 70s, they made a lot of underground films too. I've only seen snippets of them, so I don't really have much of an opinion. The movie Liquid Sky, which was that 1982, they say that's underground, but the guy who made it was actually a former Soviet documentary filmmaker. So he had a huge background, but it still has a lot of the elements of underground cinema. So it's a wide spectrum, I guess.
What do you think about what Straight Jacket Guerrilla Film Festival is doing with showcasing YouTube films that are on YouTube? Like, it's kind of like a YouTube film festival. What do you think about that you can see the films for free?
Well, it introduces people to films that they wouldn't have heard of otherwise, and so even if they can't watch the whole thing, they can go on YouTube if their interest is piqued and go ahead and see it. So it gives a lot of access to basically information about a lot of films that are out there, which is always good, especially because on YouTube you don't have always enough promotion. I mean, there's some people who know how to promote themselves on YouTube, but what they do is not necessarily all that good. But it depends. So this gives them more opportunities for a lot of the people who post films on YouTube. And it's not enough for people just to complain about, oh, the big Hollywood machine, because there are social media outlets like YouTube or other online video sharing sites where people can make their own movies or post them. And this is a good opportunity just to give people kind of point them in the right direction to look that up, which can open up a whole new set of venues, because the algorithms even on YouTube will say, hey, if you enjoyed this movie, you might like this movie. If you ever saw, there was a British stop-motion puppet animation movie called Bobby Yeah. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and see that. It's like a cross between Eraserhead and a Tool video. It'll give you nightmares. So that's always good, just because it's another form of promotion for people just trying to do their own work.
It seems like it's more geared towards the artists rather than these corporate films that are like destroying like the whole idea of the artist and the artist's hand and DIY and punk cinema.
I think there's a place for the Hollywood studio system. It's like there was an interview with the AV Club, the Onion newspaper AV Club, with Paul Schrader, who wrote the screenplay for Taxi Driver. They interviewed him, I think, back in the late 90s. And they asked him about like how in the 70s there were more maverick filmmakers working within Hollywood. and how that's not a big deal anymore. He's like saying, well, there was always the studio system. What we were doing was kind of an anomaly. But at the same time, you can get someone like David Lynch, who kind of is a mainstream filmmaker now. But
Dude, you gotta be at the door. I'm interviewing.
I'm looking at you.
Hey, what's up, Tony? Thanks for working the door.
Yeah. I was making a point. No, but you have filmmakers like David Lynch, and I could say probably Spike Lee, and there are some other ones like, who's the guy who did Return of the Secaucus 7? He wrote the screenplays for the Roger Corman movies Alligator and Battle Beyond the Stars. What the hell is his name? He did Sunshine State, Limbo. Name is eluding me. Normally,
Spike Jonze?
Not Spike Jonze. He was better doing films before Spike Jonze ever was, because he was doing films in the early 80s.
Harmony Korine? No.
No, before Harmony Korine. This is, it'll come to me probably after you finish interviewing me. He wrote the screenplay for Battle Beyond the Stars and also for Alligator. He did a movie, The Return of the Secaucus 7, which was later ripped off into another movie called The Big Chill. But he was there first. John Sayles, he's kind of like, works a little outside the mainstream of Hollywood, but he gets wide distribution for his films. So I don't think it's just saying it's the big corporate studio system sucking the souls of everything. A lot of Hollywood movies are crap. I mean, The Fast and the Furious, I actually was forced at the Plasma Bank to sit through Tokyo Drift, Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, and I was like, this movie is idiotic. This is so dumb, but not everything that comes out of Hollywood is garbage. A large proportion of it is by the numbers and mediocre, so I tend to get bored with it. I think you still get people. I mean, like Orson Welles, I mean, he had to work within the Hollywood system, and he made Citizen Kane. So it's a crapshoot, but I think there should always be room for independent filmmakers, and not just on what's under the rubric of independent films now, which is just a bunch of smaller companies that are subsidiaries of larger film companies like Miramax or something. But there are always other options, and one of these is YouTube and other forms of like online video streaming services. So there's still options out there. It's just a matter of seeing what's out there.
Hey, we're here with Chris, and we're in San Antonio at Tex Pop, the South Texas Museum of Pop Culture. And Chris, I just wanted to ask you, what did you think about Teddy Bears Live Forever?
It's amazing. Something very different. I've never seen anything like it.
Can you speak a little louder? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's very interesting. I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, cool. Did it seem like an art film to you?
Yes, very different. Totally different perspective.
What was your favorite part?
My favorite part? Gosh, there are so many good ones. It's hard to really pin down to just one particular one.
Is there something that stood out to you in the film that you think you'll remember walking away with it?
Walking away like that.
Walking away with something to remember?
It's a hard question. It's also interesting.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hey, what's up, Alexis?
Hi.
How's it going?
Great.
Thanks for bartending tonight.
Of course.
Let's see. I'd like to interview you and ask you about the film that you that's screening right now, Teddy Bears Live Forever, by Fabrizio Federico.
Of course. What would you like to know?
Well, what do you think the director was like thinking about when he directed this film?
Okay, well, that's a good question. I definitely feel that the director had some type of message that he wanted the audience to empathize with. And I feel like it's very, very much so interpretive. In its own way, like avant-garde. Like I felt a very like avant-garde, but like abstract yet concrete
kind of punk, right? Punk.
Right, very punk. But I also got a sense because personally, like, I suffer from mental illness, and like I totally got that sense of like mental illness and like not glorifying it by any means, but more so
Stylizing it.
awareness and stylizing it in a sense.
Right.
Yeah, it was totally rad.
Thank you.
Exquisite. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks. Hi, we're here with David Anthony Garcia at the Straight Jacket Affair 2019, and he's one of the featured artists in our art exhibition here at the South Texas Museum of Pop Culture. So, David, why don't you tell me a little bit about your artwork and what inspired you to make it?
Okay, great. Yes, it's great to be here. It's an excellent show and a lot of wonderful artists that I recognize in this show. My pieces are all about integration and merging styles and trying to do different types of media in one composition to create like a unity. And they're pretty abstract, but then you've got all kinds of details happening. From realistic to...
They look a little surrealistic to me, too.
Yeah,
surreal.
yeah.
They look kind of surreal.
There are some that where one of them is very abstract, and then there's a couple others that incorporate portraiture faces along with an abstract, spontaneous background. So it's kind of like that crashing of styles together into one composition, like I said, to promote integration.
Awesome. Well,
diversity, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being a part of everything.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, David.
You bet.
Bye.
Take care.
Hey, everybody. We're here with Ron Peters, Mystic Frequencies. He's going to be performing in the Synth Battle tonight at Straight Jacket Affair. So, Ron, I just wanted to ask you what you thought about underground film and cult cinema and the film that we're screening tonight, Teddy Bears Live Forever.
Another thing I like about this film, compared to most indie films and others that you see in similar styles, is the symbolism that they've used in this is so subtle. If you get it, it makes the whole experience a lot more cool. You get a lot more out of it.
Cool. Thanks, Ron.
You bet.
Bye.
I think that's good. Perfect. Good idea. Can you guys hear over there? Good? Yeah.
Like Allison.
We're doing good. We're winning everything. Ça lui arrive même des fois d'être ironiste de machine.
Mistakes would be remembered, misunderstandings remembered, and grudges would be held with fire-forged contempt. There are spaces between us words will not travel through. Behind your angry words a sordid pain that will not reveal itself. Your happy grin to others, mixed materials flattened on a white plane, three-dimensional substances illusioned as two dimensions in the service of an illusion of dark